All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about something incredibly powerful, but, well, it's a part of ourselves that we often misunderstand or maybe even fear. It's called the shadow. And according to Jungian analyst Robert A. Johnson, this unseen piece of our psyche holds the key to living a more complete, more authentic life. And this quote from Johnson just sets the stage perfectly. To honor and accept your shadow. Think about that. It's not about fixing some flaw in yourself. He calls it a profound spiritual discipline. It's the act of whole-making. And as he points out, that process is truly holy.
Okay, so first things first, we have to actually meet our shadow. And that means getting a really clear definition, one that cuts through all the spooky, intimidating ideas people usually have about it. So if we go back to Carl Jung, the idea is actually pretty simple. The shadow is just anything about ourselves that's in our unconscious. You know, that huge part of our mind that's running in the background. It's not good, it's not bad. It's just unknown, at least to our conscious mind. This is huge, because this is where we need to bust some major myths. We tend to think of the shadow as this scary, evil thing to avoid at all costs. But the reality? It's just a part of you. It plays this crucial balancing role in your personality. And maybe most important of all, it contains what Johnson calls pure gold.
So here's the bottom line. The shadow is not your enemy. Not at all. Think of it more like a mirror image of your ego, holding all the qualities you think you lack. Its entire job is to push you toward being whole. It only gets hostile or messy when we ignore it. And why? Because it's packed with energy and vitality that we desperately need.
Okay, so that naturally leads to the next big question, right? If we've all got one of these, where the heck did it come from? How do we end up with this divided self in the first place? And that's what we're going to unpack next. We're going to look at this great inner divide, the process, both from our culture and from within, that splits us in two, creating the person we show the world and the shadow we hide away. And here's the thing, this happens to every single one of us. It's a universal story. We all start out whole as these complete little beings, but pretty quickly, society, our parents, our teachers, our culture tells us, hey, this part of you is good, but that part is not okay. So we do this kind of psychic surgery. We build an ego out of the acceptable parts, and we shove everything else into the darkness of the shadow.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, it's not just the bad stuff we push down. It's not just our anger or our greed. We also hide our gold, our greatest talents, our creativity, our most profound abilities. Johnson argues that, weirdly enough, we're often more afraid of our own brilliance than we are of our flaws. So this whole dynamic brings us to a fantastic metaphor that Johnson uses to explain the relationship between our ego and our shadow, the seesaw. I want you to picture your mind like a seesaw. It's a perfect analogy. On one side, you put all the good stuff, the qualities you're proud of. On the other side, all the forbidden stuff you've hidden away. And here's the non-negotiable law of your inner world. That seesaw has to stay balanced. If you pile way too much on the good side, the other side will find a way to slam down and restore equilibrium, often when you least expect it. And this is why you get these really surprising shadows, right? It's always a counterbalance. So a hardened criminal might have a shadow full of sincerity and tenderness. A super shy person? Their shadow probably holds incredible assertiveness. It's always got the exact thing your conscious personality is missing.
Johnson tells this great little story on himself that just illustrates this perfectly. He'd been heroically patient with some really difficult house guests for days. Afterwards, he goes to a nursery to buy a plant, and boom, out of nowhere, he picks a huge fight with the poor nurseryman over nothing. His shadow, having been ignored for so long, just erupted and demanded its due in this really clumsy, unfair way.
So, what's the alternative? How do you give the shadow what it wants without, yelling at a stranger? Well, Johnson offers this, let's just say, unusual, but really practical ritual. He was told to do this before giving a lecture. Find a private room, get a heavy, wet towel, and just throw it at the floor and shout. By physically releasing that raw energy in a safe, conscious way, he honored his shadow. And the result? He could walk out and give a calm, powerful lecture, using that energy instead of being sabotaged by it.
Okay, so this all leads us to the final and most important part, the path to wholeness. How do we get out of this internal tug of war and start moving toward a life where these opposites can actually work together?
And this really gets to the core of so much of our struggle, doesn't it? What do we do with this insufferable contradiction inside of us? That feeling of being pulled in two directions at once. To be kind, but also to be firm. To be ambitious, but also to rest. It can feel totally paralyzing.
The whole secret, the key to unlocking this, is to move from contradiction to paradox. See, a contradiction is a war you can't win. It's barren and destructive. It's the root of neurosis. But a paradox is creative. It's the ability to hold two opposite truths at the same time and know that they're both real. It's the powerful embrace of reality.
So you can see there's this kind of divine progression, a map for the journey. We all start in conflict. That's the painful part. But by owning our shadow, we can move into paradox, where we hold both sides of ourselves with dignity. And it's from that place of paradox that revelation can emerge, that genuine soul-level experience of wholeness.
And there's a beautiful ancient symbol for this exact process. It's called the Mandorla. You see it when two circles overlap. It's that almond-shaped space in the middle. It's not one circle or the other. It's the third sacred space created between them. That's the holy ground where light and dark, ego and shadow can finally meet.
And really, this is the main takeaway from all of this. The goal isn't perfection. It never was. Trying to be perfectly good is a lifeless, sterile goal. The real prize, the thing that brings all the vitality and joy back into your life, is wholeness. Embracing every single part of your complex, messy, and beautiful humanity.
You know, the poet T.S. Eliot said it so perfectly. The fire and the rose are one. The fire of our passion, our anger, our transformation, and the rose of our beauty, our love, our rebirth. They aren't separate things. They are one. A full life is about holding both together. So the question to leave you with is this: what part of your own shadow might be holding the very gold you've been looking for?